Cabernet Sauvignon. If there's one wine that basically runs the world, it's Cabernet Sauvignon. It is a full-bodied, high-tannin red wine known for its deep color and intense flavors of black currant, cedar, and mint. But nobody planned it. Cabernet Sauvignon originated entirely by accident. Sometime in the 17th century in the Bordeaux region of southwestern France, a Cabernet Franc vine and a Sauvignon Blanc vine cross-pollinated naturally in the wild. Scientists only confirmed this in 1996 through DNA testing. In the glass, Cab Sav is bold, dark, and structured. Think blackcurrant, blackberry, cedar, and tobacco. The grape itself has thick, durable skins and vines that resist rot and frost. Winemakers love it because it's consistent, adaptable, and grows well almost anywhere. Its thick skin also means high tannins, which is exactly what makes it age so well. A good bottle can keep developing for decades. When it is young, the aggressive tannins can completely dry out your mouth, feeling like cotton wool. It requires years of contact with oak barrels to soften those compounds into something smooth. Today, it's the most widely planted wine grape in the world.
Merlot. Merlot is a medium to full-bodied red wine loved for its soft, velvety texture and dominant flavors of black cherry, plum, and chocolate.
The French locals named the grape after the Merlot, a native blackbird because the bird loved eating the dark, sweet fruit right off the vines. It is the second most planted grape in the entire world. For centuries, the wine industry treated Merlot as a secondary blending tool rather than a star player. Winemakers used its naturally plush, low-tannin juice to soften the harsh, aggressive edges of Cabernet Sauvignon before bottling. In the glass, Merlot is softer and more approachable than Cabernet Sauvignon. Think of ripe plum, cherry, chocolate, and a velvety, smooth finish. It has lower tannins, which is what made it so popular with new wine drinkers in the first place. Unlike Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot can be bottled and drunk young. It's the backbone of some of Bordeaux's most legendary bottles. And yet, in 2004, one line from a Hollywood movie nearly tanked its entire reputation. In the film Sideways, a character screams, "I am not drinking any fucking Merlot."
And if they want to drink Merlot, we're drinking Merlot.
No, if anybody orders Merlot, I'm leaving. I am not drinking any fucking Merlot!
Well, the irony was that at the end of that same film, the character drinks an expensive bottle of Chateau Petrus, which is almost entirely Merlot. He just didn't realize it. Chardonnay. Chardonnay is a highly adaptable white wine that can range from crisp, sharp, and mineral-driven to rich, creamy, and deeply buttery. It is the world's most widely planted white grape variety. If you've tried Chardonnay and didn't like it, there's a good chance you had the wrong version, because Chardonnay is actually two very different wines depending on how it's made, either oaked or unoaked. Oaked Chardonnay is aged in charred oak barrels. During that process, the wine goes through malolactic fermentation, which converts sharp malic acid into softer lactic acid, which is the same acid found in milk. The result is the buttery, vanilla, caramel, toasty flavor that defined Chardonnay through the 1980s and 90s. Unoaked Chardonnay skips the barrel entirely and goes into stainless steel tanks instead. Without the oak, the wine stays crisp, fresh, and fruit-forward, tasting of green apple, lemon zest, or white peach. The grape itself is genetically neutral, meaning it doesn't carry strong, natural flavors of its own. It acts as a blank canvas and absorbs and reflects the character of soil, the winemaker, and the materials used inside the cellar. This is why a Chardonnay from Burgundy's Chablis region tastes completely different from one made in Napa Valley. Sauvignon Blanc. In France, it's restrained, mineral, and elegant. In New Zealand, it smells like a tropical fruit market exploded in your glass. It's the same grape, but two completely different wines. That's Sauvignon Blanc. It's a crisp, high-acidity white wine defined by its pungent, unmistakable aromas of tropical fruit, fresh-cut grass, and green herbaceous notes. In the Loire Valley of France, its original home, Sauvignon Blanc produces wines that are restrained, mineral, slightly smoky, with a grassy, herbal edge and crisp acidity. Then New Zealand got hold of it, specifically the Marlborough region. And what came out was almost unrecognizable. New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is aggressive, tropical, and explosive. Think of passion fruit, grapefruit, and fresh-cut grass at full volume. The reason for such different results is terroir, which is the combination of soil, climate, and geography that shapes how a grape ripens. In cold northern zones, the wine leans heavily into green apple and sharp flint notes. In hot southern zones, the green elements vanish completely, causing the grape to produce intense flavors of sweet passion fruit, mango, and white peach. One more fact worth knowing is that Sauvignon Blanc is actually the parent grape of Cabernet Sauvignon. That light, crisp white, and that bold, dark red share direct family DNA. Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is a light-bodied, highly translucent red wine defined by delicate flavors of strawberry, raspberry, and subtle, damp, earthy notes that resemble mushrooms or forest floor. The name comes from the French word for pine, because the grape clusters grow in dense, tight bunches shaped like a pine cone. Winemakers have a nickname for Pinot Noir. They call it the heartbreak grape, and for good reason. Pinot Noir has extremely thin skin. That thin skin makes it vulnerable to sunburn, susceptible to splitting in rain, and wide open to disease and fungal infection. Because the grape skins are exceptionally thin, very little color or tannin transfers into the liquid during production. This gives the drink its signature pale, see-through, ruby appearance and a silk-like mouthfeel. The grape is notoriously difficult to cultivate. When Pinot Noir works, nothing else comes close. In the glass, it's medium-bodied, high in acidity, with aromas of cherry, strawberry, rose, and violet. The movie Sideways did for Pinot Noir what it did against Merlot, made it famous. Pinot Noir sales increased 16% in the U.S. in the years following the film. Despite its fragile nature, Pinot Noir commands the highest prices at global luxury auctions. It's also the primary red grape used in champagne production, though it's pressed so quickly that it contributes almost no color to the final sparkling wine. Riesling. Most people who've tried Riesling think they don't like it, and most of them have never actually tasted real Riesling. Riesling is a highly aromatic white wine that spans from bone-dry to intensely sweet and features powerful aromas of orchard fruits, jasmine, and citrus zest. Ask most casual wine drinkers about Riesling, and they'll say it's sweet. That perception is so widespread it has actively damaged the grape's reputation for decades. The reality of modern Riesling is completely different. Riesling can range from bone-dry to intensely sweet, and crucially, high acidity determines how sweet a wine actually tastes, not just the sugar content. It possesses the highest natural acidity of almost any major white variety on Earth. This extreme acidity acts as a natural preservative, allowing high-quality bottles to age safely in a cellar for over 100 years without spoiling or losing their structural integrity. One of the most surprising things about aged Riesling is the smell. The aged liquid has a highly prized, completely unmistakable aroma that smells like industrial petrol or kerosene. Among Riesling enthusiasts, that scent is considered a sign of exceptional quality. Syrah or Shiraz. This one has an identity problem. Ask for it in France, and you say Syrah. Ask for it in Australia, and you say Shiraz. They're the same grape, but they taste nothing alike. Syrah, also known as Shiraz, is a robust, full-bodied red wine packed with dark fruit notes and intense, heavy aromas of black pepper, smoke, smokehouse meat, and licorice. French Syrah tends to be leaner, more structured, with savory black pepper notes, firm tannins, and earthy complexity. Australian Shiraz, particularly from the Barossa Valley in South Australia, goes in the opposite direction. It's rich, ripe, jammy, full-bodied with dark plum, chocolate, and sometimes a hint of vanilla from American oak aging. The grape naturally produces high levels of floral aromatics, meaning a wine that looks like motor oil can smell intensely like fresh violets and lavender. Champagne is the world's definitive luxury sparkling wine, and is characterized by fine, persistent bubbles and complex, savory flavors of green apple, lemon curd, almond, and fresh-baked brioche. People call sparkling wine champagne all the time. They are wrong almost every time. Real champagne can only legally be produced within the boundaries of the Champagne region of France. If the bottle doesn't come from that specific region, produced under that region's strict regulations, it's legally not champagne. The sparkle inside the bottle is not injected via a gas tank. It is achieved through an intensive, legally mandated process called the méthode champenoise, where a completely flat, highly acidic base wine is poured into individual bottles along with fresh yeast and sugar. As the yeast consumes the sugar, it releases carbon dioxide gas, which has nowhere to escape and dissolves directly into the liquid, creating the tiny, elegant bubbles. For centuries, these bubbles were actually considered a catastrophic production flaw. The pressure caused thousands of fragile glass bottles to explode violently in dark cellars. Champagne's distinctive character comes from a combination of factors: the region's cool climate, its chalky soils, and the méthode champenoise. The three main grapes used are Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier. Prosecco. Every year, the world drinks more Prosecco than champagne. It's not even close. By volume, for years now, more bottles of Prosecco leave Italy than bottles of champagne leave France. And yet most people still treat it like the cheaper alternative. Taste-wise, Prosecco leans toward green apple, white peach, cream, and floral notes. It's generally lighter-bodied and slightly sweeter than champagne. Prosecco is its own category entirely, with its own grape, its own production method, and its own flavor identity. Treating it as a budget champagne is like calling a lager a cheap whiskey. It's made predominantly from a grape called Glera. The production method is also fundamentally different from champagne. Where champagne undergoes its second fermentation inside individual bottles, Prosecco uses the Charmat method. It's a secondary fermentation that happens in large pressurized stainless steel tanks rather than individual bottles. This is faster, cheaper, and produces larger, lighter bubbles. The result is a wine that's more approachable, fruitier, and noticeably more affordable. Part of Prosecco's global rise also came from outside the wine world entirely. The Aperol Spritz, which is 3 parts Prosecco, 2 parts Aperol, and 1 part soda, turned Prosecco into the foundation of the most ordered cocktail across Europe for over a decade.
Rosé. Rosé is a refreshing, pink-hued wine that incorporates some of the color from red grapeskins, but is not a true red wine. In the glass, it sits in a unique middle ground between red and white. It carries the fresh acidity and lightness of a white wine, but with a subtle fruit depth and soft body that comes from red grapeskins. Almost everyone who drinks rosé assumes it's made by mixing red wine and white wine together. That is not how it works. Rosé gets its color through a process called maceration. Red grapes are harvested, and their juice sits in contact with the grapeskins. The longer the contact, the deeper the pink. Pull the juice early, and you get a pale salmon. Leave it a few more hours, and it deepens toward coral or ruby. Port. Port is a rich, intensely sweet, high-alcohol fortified wine characterized by heavy, concentrated flavors of blackberry, dark plum, sweet raisins, cinnamon, and dark chocolate.
It exists because of a trade war. Britain and France had been trading wine for generations. Then, toward the end of the 1600s, the two countries went to war, and Britain banned the import of French wine. English merchants needed an alternative. They found one in Portugal, specifically in the steep terraced vineyards of the Douro Valley in the north of the country. The problem was distance. Portuguese wines needed to survive a long sea voyage to Britain, and regular wine didn't always make it. To preserve the wine, producers stopped fermentation early by adding grape brandy, a process known as fortification. The result was a sweeter, more stable wine with higher alcohol. The drink splits into entirely different worlds based on how it ages. You have ruby, tawny, white, and vintage. Vintage port represents the rarest and most age-worthy expression of all. Ruby port is aged in sealed steel tanks to preserve its bright, fiery purple grapefruit traits, and tawny port is aged for decades in porous oak barrels, allowing oxygen to slowly turn the liquid amber while infusing it with complex notes of toasted walnuts, butterscotch, and dried figs.
Malbec. Malbec is a plump, deeply colored red wine featuring an incredibly smooth, juicy texture dominated by dark plum, blackberry, and sweet tobacco notes.
Malbec is a 2,000-year-old grape that France essentially gave up on, and Argentina turned into one of the most recognized wines in the world. It started as a blending grape in southwestern France, where it regularly suffered crop failures due to its sensitivity to frost and damp weather. The variety was saved from near extinction when it was introduced to Argentina in the mid-19th century. In the high-altitude desert-like conditions of the Mendoza region, the grape suddenly found its perfect ecosystem. It grew deeper in color, softer in tannins, and richer in flavor. What emerged was something entirely different, with dark plum, blackberry, and violet notes, and a velvet texture. Today, Argentina is the dominant global producer of Malbec. Pinot Grigio, or Pinot Gris. Pinot Grigio, also known as Pinot Gris, is a crisp, light-bodied white wine featuring clean, subtle flavors of green apple, white pear, and saline minerality. It's a unique genetic mutation of the red Pinot Noir grape, bearing dusky pinkish-gray skins rather than green ones. When produced in northern Italy as Pinot Grigio, the fruit is picked early to preserve maximum acidity, creating a neutral, ultra-crisp, refreshing patio drink meant to be consumed ice-cold. When produced in Alsace, France, or Oregon as Pinot Gris, the grapes are left on the vine much longer to develop sugars. This results in a heavy, viscous, almost oily white wine loaded with tropical notes, honey, and ginger spice. Because the skins contain a natural pink pigment, if a winemaker allows the crushed juice to sit with the skins for a few days instead of pressing them immediately, the liquid turns a beautiful pale copper salmon color known as Ramato.